In our previous two videos, we first downloaded and installed Google Drive on our local machine, and then we went and looked at different ways we can create file structure and move files from one location to another. In this video, we're going to look at how we can share those with multiple people. Now, a lot of you probably have experience with this working with single documents, but I found that not everyone thinks to necessarily do it with folders, when sometimes that's a very efficient process. So again, we could go online and go directly to Google Drive Online and work there. I could open up a File Explorer, find Google Drive over here, and work there. Or I could open that same folder simply by double-clicking the shortcut. And that's the same thing as going through File Explorer and finding it here. Okay, so I'm in my Google Drive area locally, and I'd like to know if I can do something here to share my files. I'm looking through there, and there's my test of sharing folder that I created. There's my file and my pictures, and everything's right where it's supposed to be. So even though I did that on the web, online in the Google Cloud, everything locally on my machine now mirrors those actions. Also, we looked at navigating around and different ways to move through the file structure out on the web, and I've got a very similar structure up here in Windows on my machine. So I'm currently in Pictures. Now I've moved up to the test of sharing level. Now I've moved up to the Google Drive level. Okay, so let's say that I'm working with a group of people and they're all going to need access to these files and many more files that I'm going to create. Well, I've stored them all in test of sharing, so maybe I can share that whole folder with them. So I'll right-click and I'll look for Google Drive. Because I have selected a folder, and the same would work for a file, my menu options change till I get the share option. When I click on that, I'm in this simple window where I could invite someone. So I'm going to invite this guy. And I'm going to give that person edit privileges. And I'm going to just click send. Or I could have alternately gone into Google Drive, said share, and gone to this advanced tab down here. And I like to use this because it gives me more options and more control. So you can see that I have shared it with this person with edit privileges, but I want to give it to somebody else as well. And there she is. Okay, she also has edit privileges. Notice that there's a checkbox here that says to notify people. Well, since I'm really just playing around and going to unshare this, I don't want her to get this notification, so I'm going to uncheck that. However, if I wanted to give a personal message, a little explanation or something, I could have left it checked and clicked Add Message, and now instead of getting the default Google-generated message, they will get my message in addition. Okay, but as I said, I will uncheck that, and I'm going to say OK. Now it's warning me now that if I skip sending an email notification, that person won't notice this new file has been sent to them, and that's very true. So often you might like to keep that checked, especially if they're checking that Gmail account, but you don't have to. Now, these people are both editors, and if we look at this additional checkbox down here, it's giving me the option to prevent these editors from changing access and adding new people. So right now they can do that. They can go out and add their own people, and that may be totally appropriate. We're working in a team. They know who they have to contact. We all have a level of trust. But if I do want more control, I can check that box, say save, and now they can still edit the document, but they don't have that level of control where they can share it out to somebody else. That's left to me, who's the owner. And say done. Now, if I go into this folder and I check that file, and I check the Advanced tab, you're going to see that those files that were in there picked up exactly the same privileges, exactly the same permissions. And if I go into Pictures, where are we? Google Drive. Share. Again, the same two people are listed and they both have edit privileges. Now, to be honest, a lot of this work, it's an extra system file that's on here, a lot of this work might be more convenient to do. The sharing work might actually be more convenient to do online. So I'm going to move to that environment now. I can just right click on a folder and say Visit Drive on the Web. It's going to bring me right out to where I need to be. After a moment. And there we are. And in this environment I can see my folder up on top. Everything is the same. It's completely synced up. If I check the sharing permissions here, all those permissions are propagated to the web as well. And something I didn't check. I didn't really check this folder. I checked the files, but I never checked the folder. And if I check the permissions on that folder, you'll see that the folder itself picked up the permissions. But I do have an issue here. Perhaps I want to let those people edit these things, but perhaps I only want to let one of those people view the items. Now, if that applies to this entire file structure, I would change the permission here at the top level. It would be the easiest, most efficient thing to do. So I'm going to go to Share, and I am going to say that this person should be able to see things and maybe send me an email on them and comment, but I don't want them editing it. So I'm going to change that permission here and save the changes. And when I look all the way down in that file structure, there it is. Her permissions have cascaded all the way down through the file structure. The other thing I can do, and I do caution you a little bit here, is if it's very well thought out, you can use slightly different permissions at different levels. Sometimes it's really just easier to make different folders, or give people complete rights at the top folder and then have two folders with different sets of permissions. But I could come into these pictures now, and let's see, this download, let's see what this is. There's a download image. I want both of them to have view or more restrictive permissions. Okay, again, that's possible, but I'm going to caution you on doing it. It's keeping things simpler is often better. Breaking them into separate folders might be a better idea when you're doing this. And let's take a look at one more thing that we haven't looked at previously. Let's come up to the top level here and say, what if I just wanted to make all of these files available to anybody? If I go to Share and Advanced, at this top level here, and sometimes this is something people don't notice, the basic setting at this level is that only specific people can access, and that's why I needed to invite them. I could have changed this. I could have said that anyone on the internet can have access. No sign-in required, and they can view them. I could also give them edit privileges, although I can't ever imagine doing that for any reason. But if it was documents in here that were being distributed to a lot of people, parents, if they were not sensitive in any way, if they did not contain sensitive information about children, but were very general public documents that could be searched on the internet and you would have no problem with that, you can actually set this permission here at this level. And that really makes, well, it makes this moot. It doesn't make everything moot. It's now public on the web, as far as viewing, but this person's privileges of editing are superior. They have extra privileges, whereas this person has the right to view, and at this point that's really moot because they could have viewed it anyway as anyone on the internet. Okay, so I hope that explains permissions and gives you some strategies about maybe how to use folders to make your life easier and to make your process more efficient.